It's happening. I get a text message from my husband. I leap out of my chair, fly down the stairs, and join him at the window in the basement to look out at the nest. And what I see there are 4 fledgling Carolina wrens. Now, if you don't know what a fledgling is, I'll tell you. A fledgling is a baby bird who's grown just enough wings so its instinct kicks in and says, I gotta get out of here. And today is that day for these baby birds. So we watch as each one shimmies up to the corner of the beam, and in one big brave leap and flap, 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 flap. But they don't fly because fledglings can't fly yet. They need a couple weeks on the ground to strengthen their legs and their wings so they can take flight. And Aaron and I know that the best chance for these little fledglings to not get eaten by the rat snake or the Cooper's hawk or a million other things that would like to have them for lunch is to make it about 50 feet or so over to the tree line where they can have a little bit of safety. And so we hang on to each other tight and we watch, like the horror version of Family Double Dare, where if you lose, you die. And as we watch, I can't help but think about my small business clients who fledged the nest of corporate, took a shot, and hoped that they could grow the muscles of those wings big enough to take flight. My name is Allison Davis. I'm a sales consultant and trainer for small business owners, but not just any small business owners. They are impassioned subject matter experts. They do cool stuff inside of other companies like change management and culture transformation and data science and branding and now what is that other? Public speaking coaching. And they have 2 things in common. First, they all are working so hard to make life and work better for all of us. And 2, they've never had any formal sales training. These people need a plan, and they need a partner who understands their unique edge in sales because of who they are. And there's one other thing you're going to need to know to play with me tonight, which is that I am a huge card-carrying bird nerd. My love of birds has been passed down to me from generation to generation, and when we left New York City for the Hudson Valley, I couldn't wait to become a bird lady. We have 10 bird feeders. I've clocked, is that a lot? I know. I've clocked over 30 species of birds in our backyard. And all I've asked my husband for my birthday is another pair of binoculars and some bird seed. We'll come back to the birds in a moment. My clients come to me when their businesses have plateaued and they need to focus on sales strategy. And there's a lot of different ways that can look, a lot of different people they can become in that role. And I thought it might be a little fun to tell you about some of those roles by describing 3 of my backyard birds. You down? Great. The first is the worst bird on the planet. A Eurasian starling. Okay, I didn't hear any boos, and I'm glad, because there was a moment in the pandemic where everybody loved a starling, because they are those birds that fly in a big flock in a beautiful murmuration. Who cares? Starlings are bullies. Starlings make horrible sounds, especially when they're in a flock. It sounds like, it's like this high-pitched two-tone clicking sound that sounds like you're trying to get on AOL in 1996. And their most charming trait is that their excrement is toxic to humans. Oh, don't let, it cuts through metal. It's corrosive, I believe they call it. So I'm going to show you what a starling sounds like on a sales call. This call actually happened in 2017, and I was the customer. Bring, bring. Hello, it's Allison. Hey, Allison, it's Scott. How's it going? I'm so happy to be talking to you. I'm so glad you're into our coaching program. And I see here that you want to talk about two things in coaching. You want to learn about business, and you want to talk about your health. Oh, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Scott. I actually don't want to talk about my health. I'm really just here for business coaching, but your online form said I had to pick two things, so I don't know, I just did health. Well, not so fast. You know, a healthy body is really the start of a healthy business. So tell me, Allison, how much do you weigh? Well, no, I'm not so sure. Oh, I know you ladies don't like to tell us guys how much you weigh. Would it be more comfortable if you told me your dress size? Now, I know what Scott is doing here, right? Health has a lot more pain for women and shame. And Scott is gathering some collateral in case he needs it, in case I say no, when he asks me in about 30 minutes to plunk down $8,000 on the spot to work with that company. Well, I don't do that. But Scott doesn't like to hear no. So Scott ends the call like this. Whew, well, I thought I had you pegged as someone who was committed. I guess I had that wrong. And I do hope it changes and that you'll call me back. And I hope it happens before your husband is leaning over you in a hospital bed while you die of a heart attack. You all know this guy and his company. I just want you to know that. Bully, real grating on the ears, and toxic shit. My big-hearted clients are in absolutely no danger of being a starling just like Scott. But the issue is, most readily available sales training is Scott's stale, pale male sales playbook. So unfortunately, a little of it does sink in sometimes. Trouble is, they know they don't want to be Scott, but they're not sure which bird to be. So most of my big-hearted clients end up, by default, becoming the whippoorwill. A whippoorwill is a very cool bird. However, when it comes to sales, things get a little complicated for the whippoorwill because they're nocturnal. And they nest low on the forest floor, and they're completely camouflaged. When they do fly, they fly low and slow. The very definition of flying under the radar. Whippoorwills don't come find you. You have to go to the whippoorwill. An example of a whippoorwill on a sales conversation might sound something like this. I'm so happy that you reached out to me. Thank you. And today I've prepared a slide deck for you, and I'm just going to quickly go through it, tell you about myself, about my work, maybe a little bit about how we could work together. But here's what we're not going to talk about. We are not going to talk about money. And we are not going to talk about what's really happening in your organization or what might get in the way of me helping you to fix it, because that would be very unsavory. And once we're done, I'll just package this up in a beautiful email that I'll spend an hour on, and then and I will send it to you, and I will politely fade into the wallpaper and hope I hear back. Can we see why this doesn't work as well? Okay, yeah. My client, Sarah, was a whippoorwill when I met her. She had flown out of the nest, that big, cushy corporate nest. And the first few years of business were pretty good. She is a diversity, equity, inclusion strategist, and she was doing small and medium-sized projects at small and medium-sized companies. All good, except Sarah had a much bigger vision. Sarah wanted to do work on a global scale. She doesn't do anything small. She wanted to grow her firm so she could have more impact and she could help more people and really influence how we show up at work. But to do that, she could not stay a whippoorwill. And when she told me about that big vision, I thought, I have just the bird. Which brings us back to the Carolina Wren. Carolina Wrens are bold. They only get to be about 5 inches, and they weigh less than 1 ounce. But with their head held very high, and their tail oddly held as high as their head, they look like a little tea kettle. And that's how they get their sound. If you do birding by ear, they write in the book, tea kettle, tea kettle, tea kettle, tea kettle. And though they may be small, they are the first bird I hear in the morning and the loudest bird in the yard all day. They're also strategic, and they just get stuff done. So a few months after working with Sarah, she had created her first opportunity to sell a vision-making deal. It was a Fortune 50 company that said they were ready to roll up their sleeves, do really progressive work in DEI, and they wanted to partner with her. And it was going pretty well until one day, ring, ring. Hi, it's Allison. It's Sarah, and this deal is going south like today. Okay, what's going on? Well, 2 of my executive sponsors have started to fight amongst themselves about who was going to get to do what part of this work and whose name might be on the press release first. Okay, what are you going to do about that, Sarah? Who? Me? Sarah wanted to stay the whippoorwill, and I get that. But I knew she could be more bold. What is it going to take, Sarah, to get the deal done? Well, by the sounds of it, it's going to take some sort of couples counseling, a judge, and a priest. Let's do it. Okay, it's worth a try. And what Sarah did next was extraordinary. I just love birds. So much. Ooh. Sarah and her basically one-woman company at that time called those 2 senior executives into a meeting, and she facilitated, and she mediated, and she got them to agreement. And they did that deal. And 2 years later, she has at least tripled her business. She has hired. And that customer is still her #1 client. Is anyone concerned about the fledglings still? You shouldn't be. They're Carolina Wrens. They're bold. They're strategic. And they make stuff happen. So if you're a small business owner and you know you don't want to be a starling, and maybe now you're a little worried that you're being a whippoorwill, have confidence that you too can become the Carolina Wren and, like my fledglings, take flight.